Thank you for joining me. My name is Ken Raggio, and today's Bible study is in the book of 2 Samuel. We're looking into chapters 15 to 18. Absalom, David's son, told David that during his exile, he had vowed to the Lord that if he ever returned to Jerusalem, he said, "Then I will serve the Lord." He immediately asked permission to pay my vow, which I have vowed unto the Lord in Hebron. Now, several Bible commentators suspect that Absalom lied when he said that, and that he never made such a vow. But he was conspiring to win the hearts of the people away from his father David. Hebron was a likely place where he could be crowned king. Some people boast of their praying only to legitimize their evil schemes. 2 Samuel 15:9, the king, speaking of David, said unto him, "Go in peace." So he arose and he went to Hebron. Absalom immediately capitalized on David's acknowledgement. He worked the streets feverishly to win friends and influence people. His entourage included 50 men with chariots and horses. He unabashedly wanted to steal the hearts of the men of Israel. He wanted to be their king. Evil men have to conspire to get things they're not supposed to have. 2 Samuel 15:10 through 12, Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, "As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then you shall say, Absalom reigns in Hebron." The Bible said the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom. This was evil out of David's own house. David's old sins called for another payday. Nathan's prophecy had said, "I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house." A messenger brought the news. The hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom. David told all his servants at Jerusalem to flee. He said, "For we shall not else escape from Absalom." He knew he was in trouble. Sin costs so dearly. 2 Samuel 15:23, and all the country wept with a loud voice, and all the people passed over. The king also himself passed over the brook Kidron, and all the people passed over toward the way of the wilderness. Absalom conspired hard to overthrow David's government. David had to flee from Jerusalem for safety's sake. Zadok and Abiathar, the priests, and the Levites brought the Ark of the Covenant, but David sent them back to monitor the situation and report back to him. David learned that Ahithophel, Bathsheba's grandfather and David's counselor, had defected to Absalom. David asked God to turn Ahithophel's counsel to foolishness, and God did. Ahithophel, Bathsheba's grandfather, was ultimately discredited for all his role in the betrayal of David, and he ended up hanging himself. Like David, we need to give our enemies to God. 2 Samuel 15:31, David said, "O Lord, I pray thee, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness." And God did. You're going to find in the will of God sometimes there is concurrent opposition and support. It looked like David's kingdom was imploding. He and hundreds fled to the wilderness, while Absalom and thousands invaded Jerusalem. Two encounters illustrate the good and the bad of anointed living. First, Ziba, Mephibosheth's servant, blessed David with donkeys to ride on and food for a multitude. Second, Shimei, a kinsman of Saul, cursed and threw stones at David. As you live for God, some will bless you and some will curse you. It's just the way it is. 2 Samuel 16:12, it may be that the Lord will look on my affliction, he said, and that the Lord will requite me good for this cursing this day. When David sinned with Bathsheba, the Lord had spoke through Nathan, "I will take thy wives before thine eyes and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this sun." Ahithophel probably did not realize that he was fulfilling prophecy when he counseled Absalom. God's awesome power to perform his word is indeed fearful. In 2 Samuel 16:21 and 2, he said, "Go into thy father's concubines." So they spread Absalom a tent on the top of the house, and Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. David, meanwhile, fled with hundreds of people from Jerusalem as Absalom and Ahithophel betrayed him. But Hushai, David's friend, defected to spy on Absalom. It looked like he was defective. He was playing a role. As such, Hushai outwitted Ahithophel, who would have killed David, and turned his counsel into foolishness, just as David had prayed for. Ahithophel was so mortified, he hung himself. God orchestrates his enemy's defeat. 2 Samuel 17:14, Absalom and all the men of Israel said, "The counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. For the Lord hath appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel, to the intent that the Lord might bring evil on Absalom." God knows how to manipulate the people that's in your world to perform his will regardless of their intentions. Hushai secretly relayed Absalom's war plans to the priests Zadok and Abiathar back to David. They sent the messages by a local girl to their sons, Jonathan and Ahimaaz in Rogel. Someone told Absalom, who tried to intercept them, but Ahuram hid them in a well in his courtyard, and so word finally reached David that he should prepare for war. So David moved quickly beyond Jordan to buy some extra time. 2 Samuel 17:22. Then David arose, and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan. By the morning light, there lacked not one of them that was not gone over Jordan. Ahithophel's defection to Absalom was an enormous threat to David, because Ahithophel knew everything about David, and he was likely to use it against him. But David prayed that God would turn all the counsel of Ahithophel to foolishness, and God did that. You can always ask God to undermine your enemy's efforts against you. He is certainly able to do so. 2 Samuel 17:23, when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and arose and gat him home to his house, to his city, and he put his household in order, and he hanged himself and died and was buried. And that was the end of one of David's great enemies, a traitor. In God's economy, there are certainly times for peace and times for war. It was time for David to face Absalom in war. Suddenly, ground support came from a coalition of outside nations. Shobi of Rabbah, Maker of Lodebar, and Barzillai of Rogelim presented David with beds and basins and vessels and wheat, and barley, flour, corn, beans, lentils, honey, butter, sheep, cheese, and more. So David organized for war. And I want to tell you, if God sends you to battle, he will supply whatever you need. 2 Samuel 18:1, and David numbered the people that were with him and set captains of thousands and captains of hundreds over them. Has God put you in a battle today? You need to know he's going to see you through that battle to great victory. That's our lessons today. Thank you for joining me. God bless you today. Save your soul in Jesus' name. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Please like and share and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, MeWe, Gab, CloudHub, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, Telegram, Truth Social, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Visit my website at KenRaggio.com for thousands of pages of Bible articles on every subject. Subscribe to receive my daily Bible studies by email. Go to Amazon, search for books by Ken Raggio. You'll see my daily Bible companion, 5,000 lessons almost from every chapter of the Bible, 2-volume set, Old and New Testaments. Get the Daniel Prophecies, God's plan for the last days, 726 pages with footnotes, 175 photos, one of the most powerful prophecy teachings anywhere. Get the greatest doctrines of the Bible. Get Praying on Purpose, praying for results, how men prevail with God. Get Long Winding Road, my very personal story, and Treasures of Darkness, how to see the glory of God in your darkest trials. Click the link below if you want all 9 books for only $125 here in the United States only. And please donate through the link below, and then share these videos with your friends. And I'll see you next time. Good night.